Hello all, welcome to 39th Khelo Chess India team battle, and we have India versus Pakistan coming at 10:30 p.m. So don't miss this tournament, guys. You have to make sure all the players from Khelo Chess India team are exclusively allowed only for this team battle, India versus Pakistan. So don't miss this battle, guys. You have to join at 10:30, and this is the blog you can visit and get the details. I am just putting the details in the chat section of this tournament. Is going to start now in 30 seconds. This is the team tournament which is going to start now, and okay, so there are a lot of comments which are going on. So all the best to all the players. Yes, Abhishek Modak, thanks for the wishes. And we are going to start the tournament in about 10 seconds now. There should be a countdown. Sorry, there is no countdown today. Sometimes there is a countdown of 10, 9, 8, 7. Today there is no countdown. That's okay, but we have 8 teams fighting out today with the top players from Jamshedpur Team A right now. And this tournament is going to be for 45 minutes, guys, as opposed to what regularly we have. Let's just check this first game which is going on. This game is between HYC 2002 versus Adipa. HYC is from Jamshedpur team and Adipa is from RCCA, which is from Sri Lanka. And let's quickly check what happened in the opening here. Let me just mini maximize the screen here. So d4 was played, d4 knight f6, c4 g6, knight f3. Okay, so bishop g7. This is called as King's Indian Defense. All the beginners who are watching right now, this fianchetto is generally, it gets into the opening of King's Indian unless black plays d5 here. If black plays d5, it becomes Grunfeld. If black plays c5, it is called as modern Benoni. So that's the opening, guys, which is happening in this game. H4, an early break from this white side. He is just trying to make sure to disturb the black on the king side and to keep black out of his comfort zone. Hence, he plays H4. Black plays d6, so he is trying to play the King's Indian defense here. Black, he has not played d5, which would have been a Grunfeld defense. He has not played c5, which would have been the modern Benoni. He has played d6, so he wants to play the King's Indian defense. So knight c3, knight d7, bishop g5, pawn to c5, pawn to d5. Pawn to c5 is again a very good attack in the center, just to make sure that black is also trying to challenge somewhere in the center. Right now white is having these two beautiful pawns controlling all the squares in the center. Knight is controlling this e4 square, and this c5 break kind of creates some imbalance in the center, asking white what he would do with the d4 pawn. So c5, d5, a6. The idea of a6 is to play b5 here and again attack on the queen side. Right now b5 is not possible because of pawn takes and knight takes. Hence white black will play first rook b8 and then he'll try to play b5. Queen d2, h6, bishop to f4, and I think castles is something that is not possible now, because if black castles, then white can simply capture the h6 pawn. Rook b8, as I said before, and now b5 is the threat. So a4 is played to stop this b5 pawn. That's the way white has to play, and this is the way black has to play to get some counterplay on the queen side, because if black is able to open this file, then this bishop on g7 and the rook on b8 can be a very good team. Okay, that's why rook b8 is played here. So queen a5, again trying to support the b5 square, to play b5 here. Pawn to e3, and I think okay, pawn e3. I think b5 was possible here. If b5, then pawn takes is not possible because of queen takes rook. So I think b5 could have been played here. So knight g4 was chosen by black, so that this bishop now becomes activated. Bishop to e2, pawn to b5, pawn takes, and bishop takes b5, bishop to a6, castles, bishop to c3. This is something which is not expected, because this bishop is a strong bishop. You should not give away for this knight here, but black is trying to capture this knight. Pawn takes, and all the black squares will be weak now. This squares are going to be weak on the black's camp. So pawn takes bishop, rook queen takes pawn, rook to a7. This is going to be a strong rook on the 7th rank now. Castles is not possible because of bishop takes at 6th threat, and this black's king, I think, is going to be stuck in the center for a long time. So rook a7 is the latest move. Now black has to play the next move. What will the black play here? Will he castle? If he castles, then bishop at 6 is available. Sorry, right now bishop at 6 is not available because the pawn is there on e3. So probably white will try to play e4 first and then try to attack this at 6 pawn. Yeah, castles was played. Knight f6 is bishop at 6. Oh, it's a sacrifice. I think white has missed this. White has missed this. White assumed that this pawn is back on e2 and this queen is supporting the h6 bishop. But that was not the case. Let us just go a couple of moves back. This was the position, and white has just overlooked that this pawn is there. So this queen is not supporting the bishop. White just captured the h6, and now knight takes h6 is a free piece for black, and this is, I think, a ticket to win for black here. c4 is played. c4 is kind of a good move because it now attacks the queen, and this rook can now capture the rook on d7 after the queen is moved. So queen takes c4 was played, rook takes d7, and knight to f5 is played. Knight to f5 is supporting the e7 pawn as well as attacking this h4 pawn. h4 pawn is now attacked twice with knight as well as queen. So white has to take care of how to handle this position. Pawn to g3, queen to g4, and now black, I think, will try to create some kind of play with probably a king h7, rook h8, and king goes to g8, and this rook can attack in the h file, probably. Let's see how black continues. Knight to h2, attacking the queen, queen to h3, rook to c7, king g7. Yeah, that's what I was guessing, king g7, and just put the rook on h8. A sacrifice on e3, g3. A sacrifice on g3. I am not sure if this sacrifice is going to work. Let us just go back a few more. So this was the position, guys, and black has just sacrificed on g3, exposing the king, and then you can see how many pawns black is ahead. So queen takes, queen g2, queen takes h4, and now queen g4 has been played, but you can see that black has one, two, three, four, 5 pawns. White has just 2 pawns. So black is actually 3 pawns up. His king has a good protection here. Okay, if this rook is able to penetrate over in the second rank and get a good attack here, then the king will be in the grave danger on g1 square. So that's the way black is thinking right now to destroy white's castle and attack with the rooks. Queen e3 check was also available here. I think queen e3 check could have been winning actually for black. If we just keep this one move back, if you give a queen e3 check, rook f2 cannot be played, not allowed. King g2 is not available, king h2 is not available, only king h1 is available, and then rook h8 check will be, I think, fatal. That was winning for black, yes. Even now here, knight h4, I think queen takes h4 is not playable because of rook takes f7. Queen takes queen e3 check, and I think, yeah, this might give a win. No, it's difficult to win for black now. White should win this one. Yep. So black had his chance with queen e3 check before, which he missed. Let us just go back to that position where black missed the winning chance. Rook was played to b2, knight was played to f3, and here I think queen e3 is winning for white. Because after queen e3, king has no square to go. King cannot go here, king cannot go here. Anywhere is not possible because of this rook. Rook cannot be interposed because of queen takes rook. Rook cannot be interposed because of queen takes rook. And so the only move remaining was king h1. So what we are discussing here is queen e3 check, king h1, and rook to h8. It's going to be a decisive check. So after that, knight h4 was possible, yes, and uh, yeah, but still it's difficult to find the best move for black. Yeah, probably it was still losing, not the best continuation. But yes, this checks is something that you should not miss. So queen e3 check, king h8, and probably queen e2 could have been one of the moves wherein threat was queen to h2 check and mate if knight moves to h4. So probably queen e3 check and queen e2 would have been a better way to continue. Let's go back to the tournament and check the next game, guys. So who are leading right now? After 10 minutes, we have Chess Blasters on first place with 12 points. We have RCCA from Sri Lanka on 10 points. Jamshedpur Team A, Kolkata Dragons, Khelo Chess India, Team Future, Race, and Gujarat Lions. Let's just check one of the games from the top boards. We have a game between uh, Paul. Paul is from Jamshedpur Team A with the rating of 2134, while we have Vasindu 2005 with the rating of 2272 from Sri Lanka RCCA team. And this opening, let me just quickly go back and check what happened in the opening. So d4 was played, d4, knight f6, knight f3, e6, e3, d5, bishop d3. So this is going to be a close game. I feel that black can play c5 here and try to attack, try to create some pressure in the center. White can try to play c3 and defend that center. This is a Khelo system. That's a very old system of putting the spawns in b2, c3, d4, e3, and f2 squares. So this is a Khelo system. It's a very old system. If you put your bishop on f4 and then try to play the same system, it can be called as a London system. So now bishop d6, castles, castles, b3. Interesting move. So probably the idea is to play bishop b2 and then put the knight on e5. If any of the piece captures, then this pawn can remain on e5 supported with the bishop. Okay, that is the idea. So pawn to c5, as I said before, that black has to start attacking on the queen side by playing c5 move. Never play knight c6 in this opening before you play c5. Always play c5 first and then play knight c6. Some players, some beginners, I have seen that they're playing knight c6 in this position, which is not recommended. If you play knight c6, you won't get an attack in the center. Always play c5 first and then you play knight c6. So bishop pawn to c5, bishop to b2, knight c6. Look at this. This is the correct animation. First play pawn to c5 and then play knight c6. The right way to continue. So, okay, in 19 moves, the game has finished, but let us just go back and check what happened in the opening. Castles b3, c5, bishop b2, knight c6, knight to d2. This is again a good move to attack. Then this is just putting pressure in the center here, on the e4 square. So a6, knight to e5, bishop takes e5, d takes e5. Now this is kind of interesting because now the bishops are, look at these bishops. These are sitting beautifully and enjoying their day right now on the board, and I think this is going to be in favor of white, if I'm not wrong. So f4 was played to defend this pawn on e5. Knight was supporting this. Knights were attacking this e5 pawn, so f4 is defending it. Queen c7, rook to f3. This is again a very good move, guys. Let's remember this is called as rook lift. You have to take the rook to the third rank, then put them on g3 and h3 and try to attack opponent's castle. This is a very good idea, a very good concept, middle game concept. You should always try to do this concept in your games. This is called as rook lift. Pawn to b5, rook to h3, pawn to h6. Right now, this bishop was attacking h7, rook was attacking h7, so h6 was compulsory. And then we have queen h4, queen h5 joining this attacking diagonal. And now, how is black going to defend? Black tried to put his knight on e7, just trying to make sure that some squares are defended on the castle king. And then white played rook to g3. Now queen takes h6 is a threat because this pawn is pinned on g7. Then we have king to h8, pawn to f5. Again trying to create some chances here by playing f6 also. This h6 pawn can become weak. So next we have pawn to c4 and pawn to f6. So white is completely ignoring this attack on the bishop. The reason is that after pawn to f6 and pawn to g7, we can get the rook as well as queen can capture the h6 pawn and get a check and mate here. So whenever you have such good attacking pieces, you can ignore the attack on the piece completely. Just try to make sure you are attacking this king as much as possible. So c4 was ignored. That is the right way to play. And white played here pawn to f6. So I think instead of c4, knight takes e5 could have been okay. I'm still not sure. Or just knight takes f5. Knight takes f5 should have been played so that this f6 is not possible. Yeah, I think that might have been a better move. Okay, but c4 was played, pawn to f6, rook to g8. That's a blunder because of pawn to g7, rook to g7, queen to h6 check. And here black resigned because after king to g8, queen g7 is a check and mate, which is unstoppable. And if black plays rook to h7, then queen takes h7 is a check and mate. So look at this position, guys. And from here, you have to learn. You have to learn this, that you have to put your pieces in very good attacking position. Look at this beautiful queen, beautiful rook. Look at these two bishops sitting right and attacking the king from their homes. They are just sitting nearby to the home squares and attacking, still attacking the long range. This is why the bishop pair is always considered very dangerous. A very good example of bishop pair. So let's go back to the tournament, guys, and check the next game. So right now RCC is leading with 19 points, and we have of games. Let's just check this game. Timuth and HYC 2002. Okay, so d4 was played in the first move, knight f6, e3, g6, bishop d3, bishop g7, c3. This is the same system as we just discussed in the last game, wherein a Colin system like structure is played. Pawns are kept in the dark squares, and pawn to c5. So black, as I said before, black has to attack the c5 and then play knight c6 or knight d7. Don't play knight c6 before. In such positions, with such openings, you have to challenge with c5, e5, and get this, destroy this white center if you're playing from the black side. So f4 is played. Here again the idea is same. Put the knight on f3, knight on e5, get the castle, then the rook can go to f3, rook can go to g3, rook can go to h3, and this queen can get some space on the king side. That's the idea of f4. So castles, knight f3, b6, castles, bishop b7, knight d7, pawn to d5. I'm just wondering what will white play here in case of knight g4. This e3 pawn will be hanging, so queen e1 kind of move was forced, and then queen, yeah, that's okay. So d5 is the right move. d5, queen e2, knight to e4, knight to e5, pawn to f6, knight to g4, knight to d7, knight f7, attacking this pawn thrice now. Once, twice, thrice. And defenders are just two defenders, so this black has to save the e4 square now. So knight takes f7 was played in order to lose a pawn on e4 square. Rook takes f2, pawn to e5, a break in center, and this is going to be difficult for white now. As I said before, that if you are playing from black and under for such, against such pawn structures, you have to make sure you have to play c5 and e5 moves and destroy this pawn structure. If you are able to do that, that will put white in a considerable bad position, and white will struggle for the remaining of the game. So let's just check what happened. So knight was played to f1, queen to e7, queen to g4, pawn to f5, attacking the queen on g4, queen g3, pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, and bishop takes d4. That would give an extra pawn to black. This is how the center, white center, has to be destroyed, guys. This is something that you should learn now. Whenever white is having such pawn structure, just try to play this c5 and e5 moves. You will ask a big question to white: how are you going to handle this position? And this is how you can destroy the structure. And same thing black has done here. After he played knight f1, queen g3, pawn takes d4 was played by black, pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4, and now bishop takes d4, and now black is one pawn up. Okay, bishop goes to e3, bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, and we have rook e8. So now here the queen takes e3 is also possible. Queen takes e3, knight takes e3, and then rook can come here, but that would help knight to be in an active position. The knight can go to c2, and knight can go to d4 squares to be active quickly. So avoiding the queen exchange first and developing the rook is of priority for black, so that in case of queen takes queen, your rook will be developed. Instead of rook being on e8, it will be on e7, which is a better square for rook. So similarly, you have to gain small tempos here, small improvements in your position, so that in the long run, when you are approaching the ending, your pieces are in the better position. Pawn to a3, then we have pawn to a4. An interesting move here, just trying to understand. Okay, so it's a prophylactic move wherein black is not allowing white to play b4 move and disturb this knight. This knight is nicely placed on c5 square, attacking the critical squares of d3, e4, b3, and also supporting e6. It's not critical now, but these three squares are very important: b3, d3, and e4. So this knight is very well placed on c5, and if b4 is allowed, then this knight will have to move. Hence, to avoid moving this knight, black has played a4, a superb move, so that he is not forced to move his knight. So this is all positional play, guys. You have to learn these moves. You have to make sure that opponent are not, you are not gifting opponent good moves that will disturb your pieces. So knight to d2, rook to d8, knight to f3, pawn to d4, and now this passer I think will start rolling. You also has option of playing this bishop takes f3 and knight to e4. Lot of good moves with black. So knight to e5, pawn to g5, pawn to knight to d3, knight takes d3, bishop takes d3, and bishop e4. Bishop c4 check, king g7, bishop b5. Now the a4 pawn is hanging, but I think white, it's not necessary for black to be concerned about to defend this a4 pawn. He can just continue playing in the center. So black can now play pawn to d3, pawn bishop takes a4, pawn to f4, pawn takes f4, rook takes f4, pawn to d2. Guys, if you are able to see this broadcast and if you are able to listen to me, just let me know in the comment section, because I can see there is a reconnecting issue over here. So if there is any issue in the broadcast, just put in the comment section. Okay. So pawn d2 was played. After pawn d2, rook to d1, just to stop this pawn from coming to the d1 square. Then we have rook to d4, bishop to b3, king to f6, rook to f2, rook to d7, pawn to g4, king to e5, pawn takes, rook check, king to f1, bishop d3, rook to e2, bishop takes e2, king takes e2, and I think this is completely winning for black now, because white is going to lose all his pawns, and as well as black will have his pawn on d2, which can be queened very soon. So that's the current position, guys. And how will black improve from this? I think black can just go back here. It's a check right now. White has to move his king. So king moves and king takes f6. So that will leave black with three pawns with an outside passer here, and also a passer on d2. I think this is completely winning for black now. All the Khelo Chess India team members, remember there is a team battle of India versus Pakistan at 10:30 p.m. IST today. Don't forget to join that battle. It's going to be an epic battle. It will be broadcasted live on Khelo Chess India YouTube channel, so don't miss it. So this is just a formality for black now. I think white should resign here. Yes, so the game is done. Black has won comfortably. Let's go back to the tournament now and try to pick another game from. Let's just check. So, Chess Blasters is on number one with 32 points. Then we have RCCA on 31 points. A close battle going on for the first position. Then we have Khelo Chess India on 23, Jamshedpur Team A on 22, Gujarat Lions on 20, Team Future on 10, Kolkata Dragons on 8, and Rays on 4. So, from the individual point of view, Pasindu 2005 from RCCA Sri Lanka is leading with 14 points, and we have Narendra India from Chess Blasters with 12 points. We have Rocking Tanmay, who really rocks from the Khelo Chess India team, on 8 points. Then we have HYC 2002 Jamshedpur Team A with 8 points. Then we have Lucky again from Sri Lanka with 8 points. Super Bohemo from Chess Blasters on 8 points. We have Kawal again from Khelo Chess India. He is also a very good player from our team. And beginner player 555 from Gujarat Lions, Bombay Rocker. So all are good players. Let's just pick one of the top games right now, which is happening. And let's just check what happened in the opening, knight f3. So not a single e4 opening, guys, today. All d4, knight f3, London system and Kohler systems we have seen so far. So we have to wait till someone plays e4 today to get an e4 game as well. Knight f3, d5, c4, knight to f6, knight to c3, pawn to e6, pawn to b3, bishop to d6, So the game is over, but let's just check. It's a short game. Wow, let's just check what happened in the game, guys. So knight f3, d5, c4, knight to f6, knight to c3, pawn to e6, pawn to b3, bishop to d6, bishop b2. I think white is taking a lot of time. He has nothing in the center, so at least he should put some pawn here, like pawn to e3 or something. So castles g3, b6, bishop g2, bishop b7, castles, knight d7, pawn takes d5, pawn to a6, rook to e1, queen e7, knight to d2, and knight e4. So this allows actually black to get a good control over the e4 square. This pawn is supporting e4, bishop is supporting e4, knight is supporting e4, queen is supporting e4. Now the rook can come again and support the e4. Knight can come to f6 and again support e4. So a lot of pressure and good control over e4 square by black. White capture the pawn, knight on e4, pawn takes e4, pawn to d4, just trying to cut off the support from this pawn. And here f5 was played supporting the e4 pawn here, and I think later in the game f4 is also possible if white allows it. Queen to d4. Now there is some tactics white is trying to build up on g7 square. This bishop is there, so knight takes e4. If the queen is deflected somewhere, queen is not supporting the g7 square, then knight takes d4, e4 or something can be played. So bishop to c5, queen to d2, pawn to e3. Yeah, this is what I think white missed here. And I said before that e3 like move should have been played so that this black's e3 is stopped, black's f4 is stopped, and white gets a good control of d4 square. So e3 should have been played here. But instead of that, white played queen to d4, bishop c5 was straight away a trap, and at least here actually white should have played queen to d1. Okay, because e3 is giving a tempo on d2. Let me just show you. So queen d2 was played and then black played pawn to e3. E3 is attacking both the queen as well as this pawn. Okay, and it's difficult to save the game now. If f takes e3 is played, then bishop takes e3 check, and bishop can capture the queen on the next move. So this is kind of lost for uh, white now, and this pawn takes again is a fork. It's pawn takes pawn is a fork to king and this rook, so king moves and then pawn takes queen, and that's how white resigned. So if you're playing this c4 opening, English opening somewhere, you have to make sure that you play e3 move to get control of this d4 and f4 squares and not allow black to play e3 himself. Okay, so remember this when you're playing the c4 or the English opening. Let's go back to tournament and pick up one of the top games. So we have Jamshedpur team HYC 2002 versus Vishal. Right at the endings, let's just check this ending, guys. So there are two pawns which are passers right now. Okay, there are two rooks. Both players are having two rooks, but if you look at black's rooks, they are a lot better. They are supporting and attacking this pawn. H6 pawn is hanging from white side, but the rooks are exchanged now. The rook has to go back and control the queening square. Now the king has to just roll up to this square and try to attack the rook. But meanwhile, if this king goes and tries to attack this pawn, then king can just get an entry over here on the king side. I think, yeah, this should be winning for white now. H6, H5 is hanging. King will come. Oh, king h7. I think that's interesting because now black is in zugzwang now. So all the viewers out there who are not aware what is a zugzwang, zugzwang means that one of the players is out of good moves. So this is the position, guys, where the black went into zugzwang. He was forced to make a bad move here to play king e8 so that he will give away the f6 pawn. So king takes f6 is now free, and white has beautifully played and converted his position into a zugzwang position. There are a lot of combinations and puzzles available for zugzwang. You should check. the websites, and even there is one beautiful book, 1001 combinations in chess. So you can check that book. In that, there is a chapter Zugzwang, and you can solve a lot of Zugzwang positions wherein actually you can force your opponent to make a bad move. There are no good moves or moderate moves left with your opponent, and you force him to make the bad move. That is the Zugzwang. Okay, so this was a beautiful example of Zugzwang. This is how Zugzwang and Rook and pawn ending has to be played. A beautiful example by this player HYC 2002 from the Jamshedpur team A. He is teaching us actually. He is actually teaching us instructive endgame about how to use your Zugzwang. This is completely winning now. But after the game, I'll just show you which position I was concerned about, which position I'm focusing that Zugzwang is possible. So right now just pawn push is possible now. This queens and rook has to go back to this square. King can just go to, okay, pawn push was played, and next move I think queen is possible. Yep. So this is winning for white now. Let's go back to, let's not see the game. I want to show you the position. Yeah, so this was the position, guys. Few moves, and if you look here in this position, black has few pawn moves. Okay, like this one move, two moves, and that's it. There is no other move. King can move one square, but now let me just go back again. Okay, so but now actually this, yeah, this was the position. So now what white is trying to do is that white is trying to finish off all the valid and good moves that black has by playing king to g6. Now king to g6 is making sure that this king cannot move now. King cannot go to d7, e8, f8 or d8 because this f6 pawn will be hanging, then this king can capture. That is what white is trying to do here. He is also trying to attack this h5 pawn. So now if pawn push to h5, h4, white will just play g4 so that only one move is left with black. Okay, black played this check, king can go to h7, again attacking the rook, and now rook has to go back and defend the a8 square, or else white can just push the pawn. So rook goes back to a8, and now king g7. Now there are no moves left with black but to move the king. If he moves the pawn, white can just push the pawn here to f3, and then again king has to be moved either to e8, d8 or d7, and then this king can capture the f6 pawn. So this is how the zugzwang is brought into the game when you're playing. This is a beautiful example of zugzwang. Okay guys, so let's go back to tournament, check the next game and learn something new every day. So this is again going to be a very good battle. Both players are having 2200 rating here. Pasindu 2005 is from RCCA, that is Sri Lanka, and we have HYC 2002 which is Jamshedpur team A. He is having the rating of 2262 and 2270. A beautiful rating, high rated games. Let's quickly check what happened in the opening. D4, knight f6, knight f3, e6, e3, d5, bishop d3. This is a closed opening wherein white can now play c3 move or b3 move and try to play bishop b2 and attack in this diagonal. So b3 was played, pawn takes, knight to c6, bishop to b2. In this case, I think rook c8 and attack in the c file will be seen very soon from black side. Bishop d6, queen to e2, castles, pawn to a3, pawn to b6, castles, bishop b7, knight to e5. This is what is expected here because now this knight will attack. If knight captures, then pawn can capture. Bishop is supporting the e5 square. So capture is not possible by knight here. I think knight d7 can be played here. Knight d7 challenging this knight, and then again try to play f6 if possible after playing queen a7 supporting the e6 pawn. So f4, and f4 again is a very good move because this will give chance to white to play rook f3 or rook lift, and this queen can then join the attack to deliver a mate on h7. This is the idea behind playing f4, also strengthening the e5 square, g5 square, supporting all these critical squares here. So knight to e4, knight to d2, f5. Even black is not giving up. He's trying to put a strong center over here with f5, e6 and d5, and not allowing white to push his f pawn further. Okay, rook to f3, as I said before. Knight to e5, pawn takes e5, bishop e7, and now bishop should go to g5 somewhere to attack in this diagonal. I feel so. At least actually try to control the h4 square also. So rook goes to f1. There is no use actually currently because this file is blocked by the f pawn. So there are two rooks in the f file, but not much of effectiveness in the f file right now. So king to g8, king to h8, pawn to c4. Pawn to c4 actually I think is a good opportunity for black to capture this, but no, then e4 is hanging, right? Knight takes e4, f takes e4, bishop takes e4 is in favor of white. So black cannot exchange this pawn. Black has to play rook to g8. The idea now is to play g5, g4 and attack on the king side. Rook to h3, g6, avoiding this queen advance on h5. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes, and white chose to open the d file now. Sorry, black chose to open the d file now. He could have played f takes also, but he chose to open the d file so that this d4 pawn can be attacked in the long run. Queen to d3, going to e3, then bishop to g5. As I said before, that this bishop has to come to g5 and attack on this diagonal here. So this bishop is beautifully placed on g5 now. So queen to e2, pawn to h5, rook takes h5, g takes h5, queen takes h5, check, and king can go to g7, and I think king can be safe there, so nothing to worry about. Rook takes h5. Rook g3, just trying to put some pressure in the g file now. Rook to g7, rook to c7, not g7. This rook can now defend from the second rank. This is also called a second rank defense, guys. Whenever you don't have any pawns on the second ranks, you can put your rook on the second rank and defend from wherever he that rook is in the seventh rank to your castle king. Okay, so meanwhile, a center exchange has happened. Let's quickly check what happened in the center. So d5 was played, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, bishop takes d5. So this is actually a pawn sacrifice by white so that this bishop can be opened up and just to play pawn to e6 later on. But first he plays knight to c4 and knight d6 is now possible, controlling the critical squares of f7 and I think rook takes knight takes f5 might be possible in the future. So bishop to e6 and knight can go to d6 now, a beautiful square. Just keep in mind that this b3 pawn is also hanging. So white has to be careful here so that he doesn't give away his b3 pawn. And f7 is also a threat in the long run, but this rook is currently supporting bishop and rook. So black chooses to play on the king side by pushing the pawn. Rook to h7. This is a weird idea. I'm not sure of what this rook will do in the closed file. It was very well placed here in the open file. It was not able to intrude in the fight scam, but for the remaining of the game. Oh, an exchange sacrifice here, or was it a miss? I think it was a miss. This rook c1 was played here by white. Bishop takes c1 was playable, and I think probably this is a kind of a miss from black side to give away the exchange. But this bishop is now well placed on f6 now. So bishop g5 and bishop f6. This is a nice maneuver. This bishop is now creating some mating threats there. But how is going white going to take advantage of this structure? That's the big question. Yeah, so now knight f6 is a threat of forking the king and rook. King and rook can be forked from f6. That is a threat right now. Black has a chance of exchanging the queens here by playing this queen f3 check and exchanging the queens. He will lose a pawn here, but yes, he'll get his b3 pawn as well. So this was sacrificed again by black. Let's quickly check what happened here. So this bishop takes uh, rook takes h4 was played, g takes h4. Now this what difference it makes is that now black has these two passers. Okay, that is what black is eyeing at. I think so. In the long run, these passes are going to be very effective. So white has to create some mating chances. So pawn takes e5, queen to a6, bishop to d5, and I think this is a very good threat. Now this bishop will be very effective. And this knight is actually trapped on e8 now. There is no way this knight can come out of this misery. Pawn push check, king moves, queen attack. I think this is again a double attack on this and this. queen. So knight f6 check, king to f7, and queen d8. So queen d8, I think white is just missing that this knight is hanging over here. Okay, so black captures the knight, and then queen captures. Sorry, white resigns here. So a beautiful game again, guys. A battle of two very good players with 2200 rating. We don't get much chance to see such games of 2200 rating with a live commentary. So please hit the like button, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button as early as possible. Like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Let's check the next game. We have next game between Jamshedpur team A, Paul 0556, and Super Bohemo from Chess Blaster. Super Bohemo, I think, is from Mexico, if I'm not wrong. He's from Spain. Yes, he's from Spain. Yeah. So we have a lot of players playing from different parts of the world and enjoying this tournament. That's a great thing. So right now we have e4, a French defense. Finally, we get a e4 game in the last 5 minutes of the tournament, last 6 minutes of the tournament. So e4, e6, d4, d5, e5. This is called as an advanced variation in French defense, wherein white plays this pawn to e5. There are other options of capturing the pawn. Exchange variation. You can play knight to c3. You can play knight to d2. There are a lot of variations. Bishop d3 is also possible. So c5, c3, knight c6, knight. Okay, e3 is played. Knight f3 is the I think main move here, main variation. But e3 I think is also playable. So queen b6, knight f3, knight h6, b4. Yeah, this is another idea. e3 and b4, making sure that this bishop is not allowed to come to the critical scores of bishop b4. Knight b4 is not allowed, and the space is captured on the queen side. Black does not get much space on the queen side. That's what is the idea behind this a3 and b4 moves. But you can see that there are a lot of pawn moves done by white. At the same time, black has invested in development of his pieces. So white is going to be behind in development. He won't get any quick attack in the opening, but he might get good space which he can use in the later middle game if he plays positionally well. So bishop d7, bishop e2, rook to c8, castles, bishop g7, knight c3, knight to b4, a sacrifice because this rook can attack this knight now. Knight was hanging on c3, so don't keep your pieces hanging. This is the blunder move, I think so. Knight c3. It should not be played. Always keep your pieces supported. Whenever you keep your pieces hanging, you are gifting something to your opponent. That's what black got here. He got a beautiful gift of playing knight takes b4, pawn takes b4, rook takes a3, a free pawn available right in the opening, and this will put white on back foot now for a long time. White would have to struggle to get some initiative in the game. So castles, rook to b3, bishop to a4, another pin here, a relative pin by black, and white captures the rook and gives away the queen. I think this is game over for white, and we should just hop on to the next game. Let me just quickly check what were the next few moves. f6, bishop f6, rook moves, pawn a6, pawn rook to c8, pawn to b5, rook to e3, queen d7, rook e6, king f7, rook goes back, and I think this is just winning for black now. Okay, so let's go back and check the next game. Right now, RCCA is leading with 60 points. Chess Blasters on 60 points. A very close battle, guys. And you can see Jamshedpur team A also closing in from 58 points. Not much difference. And we also Khelo Chess India on 54. So if there's a just difference of 9 points between the first and the fourth team, so it could be anyone's battle, anyone's game, anyone's winning chances for the remaining part of the tournament. And let's go and check one of the games between the top player Pasins, or let's check from the Milan Gauns game from uh, Chess Blasters. So Milan Gauns is playing with Cheka, and let's check Cheka's game. So Cheka is from RCCA. The rating is 1884 from Sri Lanka, and Milan Gauns is from Chess Blasters. He is from I think India or Spain probably. I cannot see his nationality, but let's check what happened in the opening. It was a d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3. This is actually French, sorry, not a French, but it is actually a Nimzo Indian defense. And here bishop b4 check can be given to play the Nimzo Indian, and then White has options of playing knight c3, knight d2, or bishop d2. If bishop d2 is played, it is called as Bogo Indian defense. So pawn to d5, knight to c3, pawn to a6. A6 again is with a good threat, actually, a good idea. I think this is called as Meran, probably. I'm not wrong. Somebody can correct me if any experts are watching. So after e3, we can play pawn takes. If bishop takes, then we can play b5 and attack this bishop and get a tempo, and then play our bishop to b7 and attack in the diagonal. This is the idea behind playing a6 here. So before bishop to g5, pawn takes c4, pawn to e3, bishop to e7, bishop takes c4 and b5. This is what I'm saying, guys. This is the idea of playing a6. Bishop to d3, bishop b7, castles, knight d7, e4. Of course, we are giving away, as a black, we are giving away the center to white, but there are some breaks like c5 which come in the later part of the game, and those are very effective breaks. So pawn to c5, pawn takes, knight takes, pawn to e5, queen takes d3, a free piece on d3, but white can capture back this knight on f6 later on. So pawn takes f6, and the game was over, black one. But let's check what happened in the game. E takes f6 was played. G takes f6, queen takes, knight takes, and bishop goes to h4. We have bishop takes f3, pawn takes f3, rook g8 check, king to h8, knight to b2, knight e4, attacking the f6 pawn here. Then we have pawn to f5, knight f6 check, bishop takes, bishop takes. Now the knight on b2 is attacked, so knight comes back to c4, rook to d1, rook g6 attacking the bishop, rook to d8, bishop to. I think this is the blunder here. This is where white has given away his free bishop. That's not how you should play. So I think that's how white lost. So let's quickly check last few moves. Few seconds remaining for tournament to conclude, and I think that should be completely winning now for black. Yep, it's winning for black. Let's go back to tournament and check the winners. So that's the tournament for you guys. RCCA from Sri Lanka have won the tournament once again. Yesterday also, I think they have won the tournament. So beautiful play by the Sri Lankan team on 72 points. Then we have Chess Blasters on 68 points. Jamshedpur Team A on 66 points, Khelo Chess India on 60 points, Gujarat Lions on 33 points, Kolkata Dragons on 26 points, Team Future on 20 points, and Race on 10 points. So that's all from this video, guys. Share the video, subscribe to the channel, and do hit the like button, which is just below the video, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. We are going to start next tournament in only 15 minutes, so don't go away. Stay tuned. We will be back live in just 15 minutes. We are going to have India versus Pakistan, a great battle coming up in 15 minutes. You can join my team Khelo Chess India and play this battle if you are wondering how to play. And just give me 15 minutes. I'll take a quick break and come back and start with the India versus Pakistan. So bye bye. Take care until we meet in the next video.